Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, April 21st, 2023. Now if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below, and if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games in Major League Baseball for Friday. First up, it's an afternoon matchup between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs. Two lefties on the mound in this one, Julio Urias and Drew Smyly. We saw this same exact pitching matchup back on April 16th, so it's a little bit surprising to see the Dodgers as such big favorites on the road because that was a 3-2 Cubs win in that game. It was, Drew Smyly went 5 2/3 innings, 1 earned run in that one. Julio Urias also pitched well in that game, 5 2/3 innings, only 2 earned runs, but he gave up 2 home runs in that game, gave up 8 base hits as well. So, Drew Smyly, I've mentioned, he's pitched pretty well at Wrigley Field in his first few years with the Chicago Cubs. We saw last year his numbers, his road and home splits. On the road, a 4.23 ERA, but at home in 44 2/3 innings, he had a 2.42 ERA. So, he's already had success against the Dodgers. The Cubs' numbers against lefties are pretty good this year. We saw him get to Urias for a couple homers, and right now they're 7th in baseball in team OPS against those left-handed pitchers. They're top 15 in isolated power as well. The strikeout percentage is a little bit steep, but I really wouldn't consider Julio Urias to be a strikeout-dependent guy or a strikeout-heavy guy. He does have 26 Ks and 23 2/3 innings, but I do expect those strikeout numbers to decrease as the season continues. Just looking at his numbers from last year, not as good of a strikeout rate. So for me, I think the Cubs are competitive in this game. And although Urias is the better pitcher on paper, I think the Cubs have proven they're going to be a competitive team this year. I'm going to take the plus 1.5 runs here with the Chicago Cubs at home. Next up, it's going to be the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Graham Ashcraft and Mitch Keller are your starters in this one. These are two of my guys I really like going into 2023. Graham Ashcraft, 2-0 with a 1.42 ERA, pitching really well. His last start, the control was a little bit off in that game. His strikeout numbers went down a little bit concerning. But, Mitch Keller on the other side, 3.8 ERA, pitching well himself. Had a good game against the St. Louis Cardinals, a quality outing, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts, but that's a St. Louis Cardinals team. It doesn't really strike out much against righties. So, you'll take those numbers if you're Mitch Keller. He's faced a lot of tough games this year. He pitched at Great American Ballpark. He pitched at Fenway Park against the Red Sox. Then he played the Houston Astros, then against the St. Louis Cardinals. Some tough lineups and some tough locations. But Mitch Keller's been able to put together some good outings. He's got 25 strikeouts and 23 2/3 innings. To me, this game just boils down to the Pirates are the better team right now, lineup-wise, bullpen-wise. I think both of these starting pitchers are going to pitch well in this game, and I like both of them going forward. But Pittsburgh's just been the better team. They have the better record, obviously, and the Reds have struggled on the road to start the year. So give me the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Michael Kopech and Calvin Fauché on the mound in this one. Kopech as a starter and Calvin Fauché more of an opener, as he's been mostly used out of the bullpen. He has 1 start or open this season. That was against the Blue Jays. He only went 2 2/3 innings in that game. So we can expect similar results here in terms of the innings pitched for Fauché. And overall, he's got a 4.15 ERA, only 6 strikeouts and 8 2/3 innings with 2 home runs allowed. Not really the best numbers. And when you look at this Tampa Bay Rays bullpen, there's a little bit of concerns. Although the ERA is at 2.89, which is one of the best in baseball, their xFIP and SIERA numbers are not very good. They're actually owning currently the second highest SIERA number in baseball and bullpen, just next to the Oakland A's. It's the only team that's worse than them right now. So a little bit concerning, going forward. I do think we're going to see some pretty severe regression for this Rays bullpen. The Rays are off to a great start this season. Their pitching staff's been a big part of that, but I do think we're going to see Tampa Bay giving up some more runs as the season continues. And, Michael Kopech on the other side, really can't trust his game right now. He's kind of just been all over the place, a little bit inconsistent. We've seen sometimes his strikeout stuff has been there, other times not so much. He's really had issues with his control. He's walked at least 3 batters in each of his first 3 starts. He's also given up 7 home runs in his first 15 2/3 innings. The Tampa Bay Rays are hitting righties very well this season. So for me, this is going to be a high-scoring contest. I'm going to take the over in Chicago, Tampa Bay. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Philadelphia Phillies with Noah Davis and Aaron Nola on the mound in this one. Phillies are big favorites in this game, and it's really tough to back the Rockies here, even on the run line, as I do think the Rockies' offense is going to struggle in this game. Aaron Nola has not been very sharp in 2023. He's got that 5.91 ERA, but he is coming off one of his best starts of the season where he went 6 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs. He only had 4 strikeouts, so I'd like to see that number rise, but No home runs allowed at Great American Ballpark. That's what you want to see from Aaron Nola. And Noah Davis, he pitched well in his first start this season. He had 5 strikeouts in 5 innings, but like I said, can his offense back him up? Can the bullpen back him up as well? Rockies not a very good bullpen this season, so to me, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies and a lean on the run line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Michael Lorenzen and Tyler Wells on the mound in this one. I have my concerns with both of these starting pitchers, but I just think the Orioles have the better lineup and bullpen to go with it. Plus, being the home team, not a bad spot to be in for Baltimore. We know the Tigers have been a lot more competitive lately. They had went on that nice win streak, including that doubleheader sweep over the Guardians, but still not been the greatest on the road this season. Michael Lorenzen's tough to back him in this start. His first start of the season, 4 innings, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs, and 8 base hits against the San Francisco Giants. And although the Tigers were able to come back and win that game, I just don't think it's going to be the case here against Baltimore. So I'm going to take the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Yusei Kikuchi for Toronto. No official starter for the Yankees, but I am seeing Domingo Germán listed for New York on ESPN. Now, Yusei Kikuchi did not pitch very well in 2022. He struggled against most of the teams he faced. He had a 5.19 ERA overall. But he faced the Yankees for quite a bit. He actually had 20 1/3 innings of work against the Yankees, which was the most against any team. And he actually pitched pretty well in those innings. 3.54 ERA with 24 strikeouts and a 197 opponent's batting average. And he pitched well at Yankee Stadium, too. 3 games, he had 9.2 innings of work, 11 strikeouts, and a 3.72 ERA. The Yankees this season have struggled against lefties. They're 25th going into Thursday's games in team OPS and 23rd in isolated power. So this could be actually a decent start for Kikuchi at Yankee Stadium. We know his ERA is a little bit steep to start this year, but he is missing some bats. He's got 17 strikeouts and 15 in the third innings. If he can limit the long ball, limit the free passes, I think he could put together a good outing. On the other side, Domingo Germán's been good for the most part. I mean, last start, 6 1/3 innings, 11 strikeouts, but he's been inconsistent because the game before that, he had no strikeouts in 3 innings against the Guardians. And he had some issues with his control, giving up 5 walks in that one. So the Blue Jays have been solid against right-handed pitching this season. They've been competitive on the road this year. I think the Blue Jays have some value on them in a game like this. So give me the Toronto Blue Jays on the money line. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Braxton Garrett and Zach Plesac on the mound in this one. Now, the Guardians have definitely improved their numbers against lefties in 2023 compared to 2022, but still not the best numbers overall. And I do think that Braxton Garrett's, proven the last couple of games he's going to be a solid piece in this Marlins rotation. In his last 10 1/3 innings pitch, he's got 12 strikeouts, only giving up 3 earned runs against the Diamondbacks and Mets. Some tough teams to face, especially because they do a really good job of limiting strikeouts and gave up no home runs in those games, only 2 walks allowed. We see now on the other side, Zach Plesac, a guy with an ERA just under 7. He struggled mightily in his first game, pitched a little bit better in the next one, but then against the Washington Nationals, one of the weakest lineups in baseball, actually the weakest lineup against righties going into Thursday, dead last in team OPS. I think they're also dead last in isolated power. Plesac went 5 innings, 7 base hits allowed, only 1 strikeout, gave up 4 total runs, 2 of those were earned. So I don't really trust Plesac in a game like this, even though the Marlins offense has been inconsistent. I like the Marlins a lot better at home, but they've been competitive on the road, 3-3 this season. Give me the Miami Marlins on the money line. I'm going to take that plus money. Next up, it's a 2021 World Series rematch between the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves. Bryce Elder and Hunter Brown are your starters in this one. Both guys off to great starts in 2023, winning games for their teams with below 2 ERAs, exactly what you want to see from your young starters. And Hunter Brown, a little bit concerning that his strikeout rate is not as good as we expected going into the season. He only has 17 strikeouts in 18 2/3 innings, and his chase rate is in the bottom 38th percentile in baseball. For a guy that's in the top 87th percentile in fastball velocity, who has really good stuff overall, that is a little bit concerning. And against an Atlanta Braves team here that's crushing the ball against lefties and righties, they're 6th best in isolated power against righties, 8th in team OPS. I do think Brown could struggle in a game like this. And when you look at the fact that the Astros' numbers against righties have not been great, they're 22nd in baseball in team OPS. Their isolated power numbers are ranked 28th, only better than the Royals and the Nationals this season against righties. Bryce Elder's not my favorite starting pitcher, at least going into the season. They didn't expect him to have more strikeouts per innings than Hunter Brown would, or per 9 innings, but he's been good so far, and until he really lets us down, I think we can take the Braves here with the better bullpen and the better lineup at home in a game like this at a really solid price. So give me the Atlanta Braves. Should be a really fun series, competitive series. I'm going to take Atlanta in game 1 on the money line. Next up, it's the Oakland Athletics taking on the Texas Rangers. We're going to see J.P. Sears and John Gray on the mound in this one. I'm just going to isolate this game to the team total for the Texas Rangers, as John Gray, he's been pitching well, but he left the last game against the Houston Astros early because he got hit by a line drive in the forearm. He had to leave that game, so I'd like to see him pitch one more game after that injury to really feel comfortable backing him at a price like this. But on the other side, J.P. Sears has given up a ton of home runs. I mentioned earlier that the Oakland A's bullpen has been one of the worst in baseball, 6.78 ERA, a 6.25 xFIP, and a 5.73 SIERA. They're a little bit lower than those ERA numbers, so we can expect a little bit of positive regression, but still, the highest SIERA total in baseball, the highest xFIP total in baseball as well. So the Oakland A's bullpen, arguably the worst in baseball. J.P. Sears giving up too many homers. Texas Rangers offense, we saw what they did in Kauffman Stadium against the Royals. This team is scoring runs left and right. They scored 12 each in the final two games of that series, and we've seen the Oakland A's pitching staff give up some really crooked numbers offensively to certain teams this year. We saw them give up 12 and 10 runs to the Cubs in two games in that series. Saw them give up 17 runs to the Mets at one point, 11 runs in back-to-back games against the Rays, 12 runs against the Orioles, 12 runs against the Guardians, 13 against the Angels. Some really crooked numbers. So I'm going to take the over for the team total for the Rangers, over 5 runs in this one. Next up, it's the Boston Red Sox taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to see Nick Pivetta and Freddie Peralta on the mound in this one. Now, Nick Pivetta's had issues in his career this season, last year, giving up the long ball. We've seen him give up 3 home runs already in his first 14 innings. And the Milwaukee Brewers will make you pay. They're top 15 in isolated power and top 10 in baseball and team OPS against those right-handed pitchers this season. Their walk percentage is up. Their 11% walk percentage is top 10 in baseball. Their strikeout percentage is actually not too shabby this year. 22.9% against righties is above league average. So I think that the Brewers can get to Nick Pivetta. Freddie Peralta obviously coming off not his best start, that's for sure. But overall, he's been a solid pitcher in this Brewers rotation. This year, he's got a 3.18 ERA overall, 19 strikeouts in 17 innings. I look for him to have a bounce-back start in this one and give the Brewers a W. So give me the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see Trevor Williams and Tyler Mahle on the mound in this one. As much as it may be tempting to take that plus money or the 1.5 runs with the Nationals in a game like this, I just can't get there. Trevor Williams, he's off to a good start this year with that 3.52 ERA, but he only has 9 strikeouts in 15 and a third innings. And I do think we're going to see some regression in his game ERA-wise as the season continues. Tyler Mahle's been solid for the Twins this season. A 4.11 ERA isn't ideal, but he's got some 18 strikeouts and 15 and a third innings of work. He's done a pretty good job of limiting the free passes. The home runs have hurt him at times, but you're facing a team that just really doesn't have a lot of power in the lineup. The Nationals are dead last in baseball in both team OPS and isolated power against right-handed pitchers. Their exit velocity numbers aren't great, hard hit percentage as well, so it's tough to back the Nationals here. I think the Twins are the much better team, so give me Minnesota laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we're going to see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Los Angeles Angels. No official starter for the Royals right now. I am seeing Taylor Clark listed on MLB.com. We should see Shohei Ohtani going for Los Angeles. To me, there's not a lot of value in a game like this with the Angels, as they are huge favorites in this one at home. Makes sense with Shohei on the mound and the Royals going with more of a bullpen game if Clark is the guy that goes. But, for me, I still have to lay the run line with Los Angeles in the end. Shohei Ohtani only pitched 2 innings in his last game because of rain delay at Fenway Park on Marathon Monday. So they're going to pitch him with only 4 days off, or actually 3 days off. But still, I think Shohei Ohtani's been proven to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. So far, an ERA below 1 this year with that 2-0 record. Taylor Clark and the Royals bullpen not been very good at all this season. They're 4th highest in xFIP, but right now at 4.66. Their ERA is at 6.89, so one of the steepest ERAs in baseball as well. I think the Angels score plenty of runs in this game. I think the Royals could score a few on Ohtani as well, so the over is worth the look, but I'm going to take the Angels here and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Seth Lugo and Zach Gallen are your starters. Now, Zach Gallen looking for revenge in this spot after the Padres got to him earlier in the season back on April 4th. He gave up 4 earned runs and 2 home runs in that game, but that was actually a Diamondbacks win in the end, 8-6, and the Diamondbacks have won each of the last 3 starts that Gallen has pitched in, including 2 unbelievable outings against the Brewers and Marlins, where he went a combined 13 2/3 innings, giving up no earned runs, no home runs, only 1 walk, and 18 strikeouts. So it's tough not to back Gallen in this one. And Seth Lugo is coming off his weakest start of the season against the Brewers, where he went 3 2/3 innings, giving up 3 earned runs and 8 base hits in that game. The Padres winded up winning that one as well, as their offense backed them up, but I still think Zach Gallen is a better starting pitcher in this one. This would be the one game this series I think the Diamondbacks have the best chance at winning on paper. So give me Arizona. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the San Francisco Giants. We're going to see Anthony DeSclafani going for San Francisco. No official starter for the Mets right now. I'm leaning towards the Giants in the first 5 innings in this game. Obviously, the bullpen has not been too good this year with an ERA above 5, but DeSclafani has pitched well this season. In his first 19 innings of work, no walks allowed, only 1 home run allowed, and 16 strikeouts isn't too bad for a guy like DeSclafani. So he's pitched well, 1.42 ERA, and his one start at home this season. He went 6 1/3 with 7 strikeouts and 1 earned run against Kansas City. I think he gives the Giants a competitive chance in the first half of this game, and maybe they can go on to win the game in the end, but I'm just going to take the Giants here in the first 5 on the money line. And the final game for Friday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Seattle Mariners. Steven Matz and George Kirby are your starters in this one. Steven Matz has struggled overall in 2023, but last start was his best against the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he only gave up 2 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings. He has more than a strikeout per inning this season. His control's been off at times, but I do think we're going to see some positive regression in his game, and I think his ERA is going to continue to decrease as the season continues. On this side, George Kirby, he struggled in his first game, bounced back in his next start. His last start was a little bit concerning against the Rockies, as although he only gave up 2 earned runs in 6 1/3 innings, he only had 3 strikeouts in that one. We've seen Kirby now only have 12 strikeouts in 16 2/3 innings. To me, he's a strikeout-dependent pitcher, and against a Cardinals team that already does a good job at limiting strikeouts, and they're just a competitive lineup in general, I could see Kirby struggling in a game like this. St. Louis, top 10 in baseball and team OPS against right-handed pitching. I think they can get to Kirby. The Mariners overall offensively against lefties have not been very good. They have a pretty low walk rate. They have a very high strikeout rate, top 10 in baseball at 25.3%. Their team OPS against lefties is 24th in baseball. So I think this matchup benefits Mets and the Cardinals. Give me St. Louis at a good price on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.